Ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to change the title of the stream. What episode is this? Look, I've had a long week, okay? What do you want from me? This is Season 2, Episode 18, Hearts and Hooves Day, aka the Valentine's Day episode, in which the Cutie Mark Crusaders decide to use a love poison on Cheerilee and Big Mac. It doesn't go all that well. I know. Shocking. So, first thing I want to comment on here. It's still in my nightmares, Lord Aramont. It's still there. Before I actually get into the episode, so I got this. In case you can't tell what this is. This is the, I guess I don't need the jacket. This is the Journal of the Two Sisters, which is a real physical book containing actual world-building background lore about the setting, done in character. I don't know how I didn't know this thing existed until, like, a few weeks ago. Now, I'm not really going to whip this thing out early, but I do have to say this thing is going to become relevant later on. Because, there it is. So you see at this page, it starts to say the Journal of Friendship. This episode right here, this actually covers when they find the book in the show. And this is the episode right after the episode in which they get in the show. So when we get to that episode, I'm going to start pulling this out and going through it and reading it on stream because I'm a total geek. And I do this with Star Trek, so why wouldn't I do this with My Little Pony? You realize I have books about Star Trek too, right? But I wanted to share the very first entry because this is hysterical to me. I'm not even going to read the whole thing, just the first page. Dear Diary, my name is Celestia. Today my sister Luna and I are to be crowned princesses of Equestria. I'm starting this journal so we can both write about our amazing adventures as princesses. Well, I hope they're amazing. I don't actually know if they'll be amazing. I'm assuming they'll be amazing, but I guess I shouldn't assume they'll be amazing because I've never been a princess of Pegasi, unicorns, and earth ponies. Maybe they won't be amazing. Maybe I won't be amazing. Maybe I'll be really rotten. What if I'm known as Celestia, the really rotten princess of Equestria? Okay, calm down, Celestia. You're freaking yourself out. Take a breath. That's as far as I'm going to read for right now, but that got a chuckle out of me. All right, so to the episode at hand. This is, if you ever wonder where Twilight gets it from, this episode is mostly inoffensive, but also unremarkable. Now, a lot of shows have this, where there's an episode that, I mean, it's enjoyable, right? It's like, okay, cool. But I'm probably never going to watch it again, you know? Like, it's not an episode I'm like, oh, man, I want to see that one again, or, oh, I have so much to talk about. In fact, I have extremely few notes. This is probably going to be a very short... Hang on. We're fighting Sephiroth here. There we go. This is going to be a very short video because I just don't have much to talk about. So, the first thing I want to talk about is this is probably the most obvious episode that was supposed to be part of the side series that was going to be following the Cutie Mark Crusaders. Because, if you're noticing, none of the main characters are in this other than the Cutie Mark Crusaders and one cameo, brief cameo by Twilight. Shrug, but it does kind of inform the tone and approach of the show in general, the episode, excuse me. So I want to talk about the innocent side of Valentine's Day before we go into anything else. Now, before I jump into, I shouldn't have prefaced that. If I say Valentine's Day, it's the first thing that jumps to your mind, for real. Fiction. So a fiction, WOV, flower industry, chocolate, a chore. I'm sorry, I gotta read Luna's thing here really quick. I'm starting over. This is Luna. This is Celestia in Mai's journal. We're gonna make note of interesting stuff that happens as while we're princesses, or as it's formally called, the era of the two sisters! ! She actually writes out the words ! Luna is amazing. Fresh reminder. Soul-crushing loneliness. So yeah, nothing good, really. Which doesn't really surprise me. Most people I know think of Valentine's Day pretty negatively. Which is okay, you know, I understand that, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But what's interesting to me is most of that's from the perspective of either an adult or from the romantic perspective. Which I know what you're thinking. Well, duh. But there's a side of Valentine's Day that a lot of people don't really seem to talk about. How many of you remember back when you were a kid, when Valentine's Day was a day when you just give out Valentine's Day to the kids in your class? Or to friends? How many of you have ever had a parent or a grandparent give you a Valentine's Day thing? I only point this out because this episode seems to be focusing on what I already referred to as the more innocent side of Valentine's Day, which I'm actually kind of with. I mean, we all, I shouldn't say that, but several of us think of it as this, you know, big soulless, designed to sell stuff, you know, soul-crushing, singles appreciation day kind of a thing. But there's a decent side to it, too, in my opinion. And actually, yeah, comparing it to Christmas is not a bad idea. I mean, Christmas is a horrible, death, dark, doom day that can be pretty decent depending on the angle you take on it. So, I mean, I actually got a Valentine's Day card this year from my grandma. From Grandma Lore, or whatever her name is. I'm trying to think of how to phrase what I want to say here, and I'm fumbling at it. You know how every now and again a certain thing a certain fiction will try to approach something from the more, I guess wholesome is the word I want to use, angle, rather than the more bitter or cynical angle? It's actually semi-rare, and it's even rarer that it's done properly, in my opinion. But I'm kind of with it when it manages it. Nintendo tries this every now and again, too, and usually fails. But every now and again, you know, it's like, okay. I just wanted to comment on that, because that's definitely the route they're taking here. It's just a bunch of... It's just that the whole episode focuses on some kids who are shipping, which brings me to my next point, actually. You ever notice that there's actually a more innocent side to shipping? Of course there is. That makes perfect sense. There's a gradient to everything, or almost everything. But usually, if I were to say the word shipping with regards to romantic shipping, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Oh, I loved that too, Roscoe. Lord Spraguin. Picard and Crusher. Raylo death threats. Okay, bit of a mixed reaction here. But admittedly, most of the time when I hear about shipping, it's more of the kind of the type of thing and the direction of things that I don't even want to think about. I also have to admit, though, that I usually mentally associate the word shipping with the most extreme form of it, which I shouldn't. I ship Picard and Crusher. I do. They work together. But that's like over here, not over here. You know what I mean? It also has to do, in my case at least, more about the emotional connection and the friendship between the two, rather than, oh, they screwing, to partially misquote ProZD on that. Like, look up ProZD's video about shipping, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So, I bring that up because, once again, the episode seems to look at the more innocent side of shipping. I actually knew kids, when I was a kid, who would ship, you know, their parents with someone else, or their teachers with each other, and just little stuff like that. In other words, way, 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 way more innocent than what you're probably thinking of when you think of shipping when it comes to fandoms. And I kind of like the fact that they took that more innocent approach to it because, well, because shipping can be terrible if we're being honest. Funnily enough, nobody's ever tried to ship any of my characters, but I think that's mostly because nobody's ever read any of the stuff I've written, which is okay. So we've got Innocent Valentine's Day, Hearts and Hose Day, and we've got Innocent Shipping. Okay, kind of with it. Let's see here. And as Raskor pointed out, Cheerilee's reaction to, why don't you have a very special sun pony? And there's just this... And then, okay, hang on, let me give the canned response that she's probably said 100 times. I have to mention, as a quick aside, part of the reason I like Cheerilee is that she's a good teacher. Like, she actually gives a damn. Which, in my opinion, I know this is going to sound strange, but in my opinion, the most important quality of a good teacher is that they actually care. So, that's awesome. But you can tell how much they obviously value her as a teacher because, again, you know, they're like, oh, yes, you know, it's awesome. We need to hook her up with someone. It's very important. Then they do the song. I'm not going to comment on the song. It was a song. I don't have much to say about it. But I do want to say one thing. Did you notice Scootaloo didn't sing during the whole song? She spoke, but all her lines were said in normal speaking voice. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but if that's on purpose, that's hysterical. If you remember, some time ago we established that Scootaloo is a terrible singer. So... Yeah, Sweetie Belle is, of course, the pushing force in the shipping, which makes perfect sense. I mean, even Apple Bloom was just like, I don't know. So, anyways. So there's the shipping. I already mentioned that. Yeah, I think that counts as continuity count. Let's go ahead and push that up. I noticed it, and I think it was deliberate. I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. Or the 500th time. Okay, so... There's this nice bit. Of course, this whole wacky plan we have is going to go into work. They're perfect for each other. And the second time they try to push them together, Cheerilee just flat out is honest to Big Mac about things. Now, I like that. Too often fiction relies on people just not saying the obvious to each other to push drama. So instead, Cheerilee is just like, yeah, no, they think you should be my boyfriend. And they have a good laugh about that. That right there actually probably salvages a lot of the episode for me. I know that sounds strange, but it is extraordinarily rare that fiction will portray something like two people who are of the genders that they are romantically attracted to that actually like each other a lot and there's no romantic connection there. Like, I like that. It is so damned rare that fiction does that. You know? Because, I mean, there's that sort of automatic assumption that, oh, they've got to be romantically connected, right? No. I mean, they even just kind of laughed it off, like, yeah, just, okay, sure. Anyways. So, then we get to the love poison part of the episode, which I actually have extremely little to say about, other than, and I wrote this down, schmoopy doopy smooty woody pony pie. Am I the only one who has the impression that the actors had a lot of fun saying their dialogue for both Cheerilee and Big Mac? Who's my schmoopy doopy dooper roopy doopy? It's just, you can tell they were just kind of throwing themselves into that. It was rather amusing. And the music starts going, just freaking out as they're doing it. My wubby dubby tubby lovey brubby. It did get a laugh out of me, as it's obvious. I did have one thing to comment on. So I've talked many, many times about what I call the harmonic resonance, aka harmony, the thing that keeps the world working and functioning. It makes a lot of logical sense that you can't force love in this setting. I mean, arguably you can't do that in real life either, but you get my point, right? No, they didn't establish that character trait until Season 2. Loner. So he actually talks normally in several earlier things in Season 1. Anyways... You remember the Wendigos for Hearthwarming Eve? I mentioned that what made them such a fascinating creature was you can't... have Venters. If Venters is there, the whole thing falls apart immediately. And that just makes perfect sense. Venters is such a dynamically, violently, horribly evil force against harmony that you can't fake it, is the point I'm trying to say. You cannot fake that kind of harmonic frequency. You have to actually have legitimate friendship to get rid of the Wendigos. Same concept here. You can't force the love, and the consequence is bad. This is actually interesting because I've heard several people say that there's an Aesop in this episode, and I disagree completely. This is an in-universe episode, not an out-of-universe episode. But this is an episode that adds a tiny little bit to the world building. It just shows, once again reiterating the idea that if you try to force harmony, if you try to enforce harmony, it doesn't work, and in fact bad things ensue. Now this is a fairly low tier level of bad thing, but we also read in the book about how bad it could get, back when the original love poison was actually invented. Thank you very, very much, Venters. Very much obliged and appreciate as always. Thank you. You know the question. If you happen to know where you want to put that, please let me know. If you say so, Rascor. I don't buy it. Besides, we know meddling is the correct thing to do, right? Anyway, sorry. Moving on. So, one last thing. We've already established several times that Earth ponies are strong. I've mentioned a few times that Suikoden 2 is a game. Thank you very much again, Venters. I've mentioned several times that they seem to kind of be making up a lot of the lore and the background ways the world works as they go, which I'm fine with, backloaded storytelling. DSpace9, hello. I think this might be one of the earlier episodes in which it really showcases how strong Earth ponies actually are, because Big Mac is stupidly strong in this episode. And so is Cheerilee, who is also an Earth pony. I want to talk about something really quick here. I've complained several times about the slapstick in this show. Stuff like this is the perfect example of why. If you do something as a joke, then I don't know when I should be taking you seriously with regards to analyzing your fiction. As Lord Harrowmont is already pointing out, this could just be Looney Tunes logic, and that's valid. This could literally just be Looney Tunes logic. Or he could really be that strong. Or the magic from the poison could actually be doing this too. And that's why I hate the slapstick thing. Because it effectively removes analysis from the picture. It means at every point in time I have to think, well, this could be such and such and such and such. Or it's a joke. So take your pick on this one. I don't think this counts as Ponyville being damaged. No, Ethel. It's too small scale. Too small scale. We'll have plenty of actual Ponyville damages later on that will definitely count. We don't need to pad the meter. This isn't a raid. As I said, this is a short one because I only have one other thing to say, and that's, despite, okay, too often fiction and real life tends to portray "I'm sorry" as the get-out-of-jail-free card for kids, right? I actually know several kids, excuse me, let me phrase it, Market. I know several parents who deliberately invoke the idea into their children as they're raising them that once you say you're sorry, things are better. And thus, their kids grow up with that mentality. And I've noticed that a lot of fiction does that too. I like the approach this episode does a little bit better. They say they're sorry, and then they're punished. Because saying you're sorry is not the cure-all for everything. Saying you're sorry is being sorry. I know. Shocker. It's a nice step, especially if you mean it, but it doesn't actually fix anything, and it doesn't actually repair anything. There still needs to be some kind of recompense, one way or the other. So they still get punished, and they still have to go do his chores. Which, yeah, I know this sounds so horrible, but I like that. And that's all I got. Like I said, kind of a short, inoffensive, whatever episode by Megan McCarthy, who also brought us Sweet and Elite and Lesson Zero. So, woo, I'm with it. So, let me go ahead and chop off the local recording.